目指した未来や全ての君を背負ってたどり着いてみせるから閉ざされた未来を終わらせて今度こそは全て守るよ最後の運命をつかめるやろ。
Hey guys, if you haven't already, give the video a like, subscribe to my channel. This is a what if series and I'll be doing more down the road. Plus Ultra. Hey guys, and welcome to part 3 of What If Luffy Awakened His Devil Fruit Early. I'm getting a lot of good things about this series and everything. I'm glad y'all like it. It was some topic that came across my head and I said, you know what, after seeing Luffy awaken his devil fruit in the manga, since the anime ain't caught up yet, but after seeing Luffy awaken his devil fruit, that shit was just raw with me and I wanted to do a what if on it. So I'm glad y'all liking the series this far. So anyway, like I said before in the last part, we're gonna get into the Big Mom arc, and there's some juicy stuff here that's gonna happen in this arc, and that's gonna have y'all questioning what's going on. But anyway, let's get it done. Let's get her done. Anyway, so after all the events happened in Dressrosa, Luffy and everyone, all the team would have eaten, and then they would have read to their counterparts. Now, the same team would have journeyed off to go get Sanji, and during that journey, Luffy would have eventually started to get poisoned from eating fish out of the water since he got hungry, typical Luffy. Now, this is where Riju helps Luffy by sucking the poison out of his system. They're saving Luffy. Now, anyway, they journey off and all the particular things play out just as normal. But then we're going to skip to a part to where the team learns of Sanji, but then they splits into 2 factions, such as Pedro and Brook. They go off on their own to try to find the poneglyph and stuff like that. And, well, Chopper, Nami, Carrot, and it was another person. Chopper, Nami, so Chopper, Nami, Carrot, and Luffy. They would all journey off to go find Sanji and basically try to find out where he's at. So during that journey, well, Carrot and Chopper would eventually get split up. Basically, Brûlé would trap them into the mirror dimension, and then Luffy and Nami would end up having to fight Cracker. Now, during this time, let me tell you this now. Luffy destroys that thing that he had hard time with, and when Cracker comes out of it, he notices that Luffy is in Gear 4. So Luffy and Cracker start to fight, and they go at it, but Cracker's not having a good time. He's not having a good time at all. So this is where I'm saying right here, Luffy starts beating Cracker. He doesn't even have to resort to using Tank Man. His natural skills is helping him beat Cracker. His future foresight is basically determining each move that Crackers make, and he's getting counterattacked, basically kicked in the face, kicked in the stomach, punched in the stomach, you name it. And keep in mind, Luffy's in Gear 4, and he knows how to use advanced version of Haki, and his observation Haki is nothing to play with either. Ever since he got into his awakening, it's like his Haki just got upgraded or some shit. Like I said in the previous parts. You get it. Anyway, let's move on. So with all that said, the battle wouldn't be that taxing on Luffy when he went against Cracker. He would eventually knock Cracker out, and then they would journey to go find where Sanji went. Well, to go find Sanji. Now they meet Pudding, and of course Pudding tells the team that she wouldn't marry Sanji if he doesn't want to, giving that whole nice girl vibe. So of course they would go out to find where Sanji is. Now we cut over to Sanji, and Sanji basically has the same things that encounter like he did in Canada. He fights with his dad, he loses because his dad does some brutal shit and stabs through 2 of his men. I wouldn't want to be on his team. I swear to God, I would not want to be on his team. Stabs through 2 men just to get at Sanji to see what Sanji gonna do. Sanji stops attacking and then gets beat up by his father. And basically, I can pretty much say that if you guys know through this arc is very emotional because what Sanji is going through and the shit that he's had to live through as a child, having your own family label you as the shame of the family, and basically tortured, beat up by your brothers, and locked away by your father with the helmet on your head. Yeah, that right there, that's hurtful. That's really hurtful, and that's sad to see that man had to go through all that shit. And most of them really had some traumatizing stories, bro. But hey. So after Sanji gets beat by his father, he gets 2 bracelets put on his wrists, and those bracelets are basically keeping him trapped, saying that if he doesn't go through with the mission of marrying Pudding and getting the Vinsmokes to a higher ground, then they're going to blow off his hands and basically die. And guess what? Big Mom got the key, so you have no choice. So Sanji is just stuck in this loop to basically do what his family wants him to do, like a prisoner inside his own family. And with that being said, even to add more salt to the wound, Seth, they have this cook that raised Sanji from the ground up, teaching him everything he knows, saying that they got him captive. If he does anything wrong, they will kill him. And even putting Sanji in more of a hole than what he already is. Now, we get to the part of all the Vinsmokes having a dinner at the dinner table. And Sanji is, basically telling his brother, one of his brothers, I guess, I think it was Niji, the blue-haired one. He was looking at him and telling him to finish his food. Now Niji looks at Sanji and tells him that you don't have to tell me what to do, you low-life, worthless family member. Why are you even here? Now he looks at Sanji and both of them are looking at each other with disdain. Now this is where the waitress would come in with the food and she would place it on the table. Now this is where I think Niji would throw the plate at the girl. Sanji would come in and catch the plate. And this is where he would proceed. The food would fall on the ground. And he would eat the food off the ground, telling the girl that it was delicious. And thus she's happy to hear that. But uncertain circumstances happen with his brothers beating the girl to an inch of her life. That's fucked up. But anyway, so they beat the girl to an inch of her life. Sanji sees this and he really cannot stand his brothers. His father, they're so cruel, heartless, ruthless. And whatever comes into the future, whatever happens to them, he doesn't want anything bad. But at the same time, who would do this? They act just like the Marines and the Celestial Dragons. They're no different from them. So with that being said, Sanji then just puts the girl up, bandages up and put her legs to safety and everything, just takes care of her and knows that she's still alive. Now, with that being said, this is where the Vinsmokes will get into their carriage and start riding. Now, as Luffy getting out of the forest, he would see the carriage and notice that Sanji's in there, rush to the carriage and jump on the carriage only to get kicked off by Sanji. Once he greeted and seeing Sanji, where have you been and everything, he gets kicked off the carriage and Luffy would look at Sanji with a very awkward, like, what the hell? What's going on? Sanji and Luffy would start to get at it, like go at it with each other. Well, basically, this time, Luffy is not hitting this guy. He's not hitting his friend. He's not doing anything like that. Sanji starts kicking Luffy all the same thing that happens in Canada happens here. And Luffy didn't give Sanji that whole speech that the only one you're hurting is yourself. And then Sanji starts to basically berate in tears, like cry his eyes out because it's not something he really wanted to do. But in the Sanji situation, he really didn't have a choice. He didn't have a choice at all, and you can't really blame him for that. So yeah, Sanji basically and Luffy told Sanji that he's not going to eat anything until he's come back to this spot. And this is where a whole bunch of soldiers would come in and Nami and Luffy would be there. And this is where Luffy would just, he would breathe out and he'd say he can't use Gear 4 for this situation right here. He has to use something different. He has to use something more stronger. So he has to resort to Gear 5. So Luffy tells Nami to regroup with Chopper and Carrot, and that he will hold this position down, that you don't have to stand here and get injured in any way. Nami says that she's not going to leave Luffy by himself, and Luffy just starts to laugh as his heart starts to beat. This rhythmic beat starts to beat around Whole Cake Island, and then Luffy starts to bounce on the ground as his hair begins to melt and then returns to a white flame. This ring-like smoke pattern would go around his neck and his shirt would turn to white as Luffy starts bouncing on the ground, laughing hysterically. And then Luffy cartoonishly beats each and every one of the members that were there. I mean, it was a lot of members, and this is a little taxing to Luffy, but still, though, he managed to beat each individual that was there. Now, with all that being said, Luffy then gets on one knee and starts breathing out heavily. And then he stands back up and says that I'm going to stay right here, and no matter what. And then more soldiers, and then more soldiers, and then more soldiers would then come. But Nami and Luffy would end up getting captured. Now, with that being said, due to Luffy fatigue, he ended up falling unconscious. He couldn't keep it up forever. Like, Gear 5 is taxing on the body. But Put it like this. Luffy still mastered 80%, but you still got a stamina gauge. It's not like your stamina is infinite. You can use the form for how long you want, but still, though, stamina plays a key issue into transformations like that. I could be wrong, but in this what if, it plays a key issue to stamina. So you can't just spam using the transformation like that without regards looking at your stamina force. But keep in mind, when those people was coming up to where they were at, that was a lot of people, and Luffy managed to knock all of them out, and then another group of people, and then another group of people, and then another group of people. That's a long time to be fighting, and it was eventually Luffy was fighting for like 6 hours with Nami's aid. So with that being said, they would get captured, go to the same thing that they were in, and eventually Jinbei would tell Luffy something to make him freak out, but eventually Jinbei would come there and rescue them and get them out of the situation that they were in. Now, going forward, Sanji would have the same. Well, Sanji would be walking towards Pudding House, and then he would get the horrific encounter that he did in canon, which basically Pudding saying that everything's a lie, that Sanji's a low life, and this and everything. They want to kill the Vinsmokes. It's basically the whole wedding is a setup for Sanji's family, and he's so belittled because this was his source of light. So, like, Pudding was the only thing that was keeping him happy, like not keeping him happy, but it was his source of light. Out of everything that was torturing him or belittling him, his family and stuff like that, he was looking to Pudding as that one source of light. But then it just shattered, and Sanji was just a broken man at that point. He couldn't even light his own cigarette. So you could really tell the sadness from that, like his eyes. He was going through it. But anyway, so with all that being said, this is where Sanji would walk back to the same field that was where Luffy was at. And after Luffy was got done talking to his sister, he would go back to the same field and he would just sit by the tree. No soldiers would come up there and mess with Luffy. Once they got there, Luffy just flexed his his conqueror's haki, and just knocked them out. And then Sanji would get there. Only this time the food wouldn't be as muddy as before. Sanji would get there, and this is where Sanji would just get on his knees and break down. He would tell Luffy that he hit him and he struck him, but then he would state that Big Mom, they have Zeref, the one that raised me into a good chef that I am today, and they have these cuffs over my hand. Basically, if I don't go through the red, and they're gonna blow off my hands, and I hit you. But Luffy, he looks at Luffy with crying eyes and tells Luffy exactly what he wants. He wants to come back to the Sunny. He wants to be with his friends. He wants to be around the people that he cares about, that he loves. And he wants to be with his crew. So Luffy sees that and respects that, and the sky starts to open up and shine. The rain stops, and everything becomes like peaceful. It's not as dark and gloomy as it was. So with all that being said, then they would go to talk to Beiji, I guess, the little mob boss looking guy who can do. I forgot his whole devil fruit because he was really irrelevant. But anyway, so. This is where we're skipping over a lot of stuff, so I want to get to what Pedro and Brook is doing. Now, Pedro and Brook does the same thing they did in canon, but the same thing, like, when Brook does that little ballsy thing, is challenging Big Mom, that really doesn't go anywhere. Everything plays out the same as normal. Now, upon the part to where we get to the last part is the team is escaping Big Mom. They already devised a plan, and the plan was to assassinate Big Mom. Luffy goes through with that plan because he remembers that he made a plan the same thing with that. Not to assassinate, but subdue Kaido. So with that, Luffy ends up once they're running, remember how Luffy turned into like Gear 4 Snake Man and got into a battle with Big Mom, and then she started yelling out wedding cake and everything, and then Luffy went into the mirror dimension to fight Katakuri because Katakuri came onto the picture. Yeah, this time around Luffy's fight is gonna be with Big Mom, and it's gonna be climactic, like so let's get into that. So while everything is going array, Luffy then transforms into Gear 5, and he grabs Big Mom by her leg and slings her. I mean, literally, he grabs Big Mom by her leg and buffs up his arm, slings Big Mom through multiple buildings, comes up and then says gum gum red rock and hits Big Mom directly in the stomach, making her cough up blood due to this punch. Now Luffy sits down and starts bouncing over the ground, laughing hysterically. Now, this is where Katakuri would come in and try to attack Luffy out of some way, but Luffy would dodge Katakuri's attack, and basically, with future foresight, and he would throw a punch at Katakuri, to which Katakuri would dodge. And Luffy would say, oh? So this is where Luffy would start throwing off multiple punches each direction, even using his future foresight to counter Katakuri's future foresight. With his double fruit awakening, and start hitting Katakuri with multiple blows, punching him in the stomach, kicking him back, and then grabbing him by his leg and slamming him on the ground repeatedly. Now, Katakuri does his his mochi and try to summon a big fist and hit Luffy with spikes on it, but Luffy just turns his whole arm, grabs his whole arm into rubber, or basically he lets Kaido, like, Katakuri hit him, and his body just becomes the mold of Katakuri's arm, basically just in the cartoonish fashion. Katakuri is not having a good time fighting Luffy, and he's on the defense instead of the offense, and he's basically losing the fight. Big Mom comes back heavily angered by this, and her and Luffy, well, after Luffy kicks Katakuri away from him, he goes back into the fight with Big Mom, and Big Mom starts to use Zeus and Prometheus at her disposal, even fusing, turning her hair into flames as she rides this cloud and starts fighting Luffy and causing a lot of destruction as both of them clash. Now, when Luffy and Big Mom clash fists, you can feel the sky split, and the amount of Conqueror's Haki leaking from the two of them is causing a lot of people to go unconscious. Some of them have to take one knee, and even the Straw Hat crew looking at this and is shocked at Luffy standing up to Big Mom. Luffy then releases a Gum Gum Magnum and hits Big Mom directly in the stomach and then punches Big Mom directly in the face. Now, Big Mom grabs Zeus and hits Luffy with a bunch of lightning, but it does nothing to him at all. Luffy grabs the lightning and throws it right back at Big Mom and does the same thing that Nami did to Big Mom at the last part when they was escaping by ship, and electrocute the hell out of Big Mom. Now, Big Mom feels the brunt of this, and she looks at Straw Hat and she has an angry face on him. But Straw Hat is just laughing and bouncing around, having the time of his life with his heart beating. He just feels so amazing right now. Big Mom swings, like basically slings her sword at Luffy, her armament coated sword, and Luffy dodges it, basically grabbing the blade and going with the flow with the blade, and she tries to swing him off and everything, but Luffy is just laughing and having the time of his life. So what he does was basically land on Big Mom's head and then basically punch Big Mom in the face, and you can see that his arms is going through Big Mom's head, but not like that. It's like her face is just stretching, and then she says to Luffy that rubber shouldn't be able to do that, and Luffy then explains to her that you don't know what my capabilities of rubber. I feel like I have so much freedom. Luffy then basically expands his fist, making a big giant fist, and then saying "Gum Gum Red Rock" and hits Big Mom again with that. Now this is extremely taxing with that. So once he hit Big Mom with this punch, it was basically to knock her out. And then Luffy basically got sucked into the mirror dimension, and that was it. Luffy was looking around and see what happened. He's still in his Gear 5th form, but he notices that Katakuri is in the same mirror dimension that he is. And Luffy just laughs at this and starts bouncing around the mirror dimension and get into a fight with Katakuri, which doesn't really last as long as it did in the anime. I'm sorry for some of you who wanted that Katakuri fight and stuff like that, but Luffy's just way on a whole different level than Katakuri is, and ends up beating Katakuri. Very, not easily, but he not scuffling either. It wasn't that hard. Katakuri was trying to be strategic in his fights, basically trying to one up Luffy, but Luffy's power is ridiculous, so ridiculous to the fact that Katakuri, no matter what he could have done, he just got eventually outpaced and outmaneuvered and outsped by Luffy's quirk. Well, not quirk, damn. His double fruit. Anyway, so once Katakuri falls on the ground, basically fighting Luffy tooth and nail with everything he had, Luffy would have took the black part of, the black covering off his hat and put it over Katakuri's mouth. But having some respect for Katakuri, even though the fight wasn't as interesting, it still was interesting, but it wasn't as interesting in the canon. Luffy didn't have to go all out or was tired, didn't get stabbed or nothing like that. He didn't suffer as much fatigue as he did in canon. But this is still big. Luffy just knocked out Big Mom and basically subdued Katakuri. Yeah, so I'm not going to go into what Luffy's bounty going to be in this part. I want you guys to tell me what it should be in the next part. And the next part is going to be the final part to this series. So with all that, the Straw Hats managed to get away, escape Whole Cake Island. Sanji made the cake for Big Mom. When she woke up, she ate the cake. Pudding did her usual thing, basically taking out the memories from Sanji so that he wouldn't remember anything that happened there. But I wanted to leave that in. I want to say that she didn't do that because I don't feel like that was really necessary. So she didn't have to really take out his memories or nothing like that. So yeah, Pudding doesn't do that. Go ahead, Sanji gonna remember her and remember everything because they're gonna eventually have to come back to Whole Cake Island to fight Big Mom, unless Big Mom takes a trip to come to Wano. Anyway, so with everything being said, Luffy and his team basically managed to escape, doing a coup de purse to get out of Wano, basically not having as much trouble as they did in canon, with Luffy defeating people really early and not causing so much conflict with prolonging battles. Anyway, so they would escape Whole Cake Island and land somewhere safely on their journey to Wano. Anyway, without any further ado, I'm glad you guys like this series, and I hope you guys comment below to tell me what you guys thought about the video on what route I can go in Wano. Now, Wano is going to be a very, very long video because it's going to be 2 split battles, and it's going to be a lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff going on. But anyway, without any further ado, you guys have a good day, a good night, and plus ultra. Good night, guys.
君の虜になってしまう